It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Vlad C.
Here we go. Regular rings can power machines, refuel stamina, act as an energy source, or function as currency. But what about Red Star rings? Any chance we'll be getting lore on Red Star rings anytime soon? The most we have so far is Generation's flavor text, where Blaze says she has something similar to Red Star rings on her world, and Rouge references the existence of Teal Star rings.
I don't know. Like, aside from those two references, they've almost exclusively been treated as a gameplay mechanic. And I wonder if the flavor text from Generations is an attempt to build on things a little, but the nature of rings themselves is currently in question. So it doesn't really make sense that Red Star rings would have lore when rings themselves are kind of meh. So I really do not know. It'd be neat if they did. I don't know if they need to, canonically allow supersonic like they did in Colors. That would, oh Lord, please let's not have multiple avenues for that. But for now, I'm pretty sure they're being treated as a gameplay mechanic, but we'll see what the future holds.
I mean, I know what they're used for. For overclocking Nicole, duh. Infinite's phantom copies / replicas are said to be as powerful as the real deal. Ignoring the power scaling issue of that idea, since Resistance members fought him in that final battle with no problem, could the phantom copies use all the powers of the originals? Does Replica Zavik have control over real machines? Could Replica Shadow use chaos control? Could an infinite replica make more replicas?
Oh Lord, truly would be infinite.
Oh no.
From my understanding, the virtual constructs by the Phantom Ruby are indistinguishable from the real deal. So they should have the same abilities. So Phantom Zavok, I guess, should have EM powers, and Phantom Infinite should be able to phantomize more infinites.
All right, whatever. On the other hand, could the regular Zeddy control Phantom Ruby-based robots like the ones the Ruby summoned in the Rise of Infinite prequel comic, or Infinite's in-game Metal Sonic replicas? What about the robots of Starfall Islands, including the Titans? What about AI like Sage? Does level of self-awareness or number of targets affect their control? There's so much we don't know.
Indeed, and a lot of it needs to be explored at some point. For Phantom things, again, they're supposed to function indistinguishable from the real deal, so conceivably they could affect these Phantom electronics. That's weird, but I don't know. Maybe if the Phantom Ruby comes back, that'll have an opportunity to explore that idea. But I don't know. I'm just going by what breadcrumbs we were given. In terms of the Titans or other ancient tech, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if it's a universal enough property that they could affect them, or if the ancients' tech is so different from everything else that they would be immune. And if that immunity would extend to Sage, or if she is this would be kind of spoilery. So, Frontier spoilers, if you're listening thus far. Her being a fully digital being, I guess, would mean that she would be prone. I mean, she is electrons, and they control electronic pulses, so I guess they could control her.
We also are made up of electrons, Ian. Does that mean the Zeta can control us?
Maybe.
Can they control Sonic characters? Because if their physiology is anything like our own, then
Well, I mean, a human being isn't knocked out by an EMP.
No,
it doesn't fry our bioelectrical system, so I think that's different enough.
I guess, but I think technically they probably could control our brains' EM pulses. I don't know.
They are already goofy enough with their power set. We don't need to go there.
I know. We don't need to go there, but, if we're spitballing ideas, it's one that might be interesting. Ultimate Team Energy from Team Sonic Racing is an energy generated through the inherent strength of teamwork. This is very reminiscent of how the cast powers up the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic Adventure 1, how Blaze's Soul Emeralds get powered back up in Rush, and feels like even the double boost from Forces. So my question is there a connection there? If there isn't one officially, do you think that there could be one worth exploring?
Well, now you really see the true superpower of teamwork.
I think it's just the good old trope of friendship is power.
Yep. I don't think there is a universal guiding directive for this sort of thing. I think Kyle pretty much nailed it. It's the trope of everyone do your best.
Yep.
Huzzah! And
Sonic loves that trope. It's been a thing since, I don't know, Sat AM.
It's spiral energy, man.
Pretty much.
Each turn brings us further to the future. Closer to the future, however it went.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't think about it too hard. In the final Sonic Channel story, Silver uses his Shield of Light technique in his base form, even though this was Super Silver's move. Could this mean Shadow and Sonic are able to use Spear of Light and Arrow of Light in their base forms as well?
No, I imagine it's more of a scaled back version. I mean, because Shadow can do Chaos Spear on his own with just his raw ability, but it's not like the full multiple Shazamsies that he does as Super Shadow. So I'm imagining if it's not an oopsie, that Silver's rendition of Shield of Light there would be just a lower level, weaker version.
And here's another question. Seeing Jebel's red shield breaking in his fight against Omega in the new annual made me think about Metal Sonic's black shield. What are its limits? Can it break? Or is it truly impenetrable? Could Jade Ghost just go straight through it?
I imagine it's nigh unbreakable, but it comes at the cost of his mobility. I mean, he's pretty much a sitting target. It's more of an endurance move. Jade Ghost, we don't know the full extent of what Jade can pass through, I think. I don't know if they can pass through energy. Might be something to investigate later.
Interesting. Power cores. The blue speed power cores enhance your speed. The red ones enhance your strength. Yellow flight cores enhance your flight. But what if you can't already fly? Do they give you the ability to fly or just boost your jumping prowess? The art within IDW's pages seems to depict Starline as simply jumping around with better agility, height, and control than he'd normally have.
Yeah, in Starline's case, it's more of like greatly enhanced agility, very controlled falling, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, quasi-flight.
Yeah.
When Mimic got his, I didn't know if we could do flight for flightless characters. I was going to try to push it as well. It's more of a talent thing, because that's where a lot of flying type characters go if they can't be defined as flying type. And it would just enhance his technique. But Sega said, no, flying cores cause flight. So have Mimic fly through the air like an octopus swims through water. And I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. Sure, run with that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It worked out. Hey. We got another one here. With Witchcart and her minions returning, IDW has now given a lot of classic characters a virtual fresh start. So I was wondering, why did you decide to keep Bark as mute even though he spoke in that Megamix comic, his only Japanese Sega material? I find that the toned down but still erratic Bean ironically works in tandem with his Megamix comic, but Bark is still at odds with his. I'm not saying you necessarily had to be beholden to that one dubiously canon side material thing, but did you ever reassess if Bark should talk this time around?
Honestly, the reintroduction of the Hooligans was to test the waters, to see if those characterizations were off the table entirely, and they were approved. So, there's no reason to go back and, flag it to say, wait, are you sure about this? It's like, no, it's good. We're running with it. Bark doesn't necessarily have to be completely silent in this incarnation. It's just he doesn't talk a lot. And between Fang and Bean, when does he really get the chance? More often than not.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, so I don't imagine he's, mute, but he doesn't really need to say a lot. He's a man of few words and big actions. And maybe we can explore that as we go forward.
Alrighty. In IDW number 53, Surge has a chance to kill Eggman but leaves him because Sonic is at the top of her hit list. To me, this felt a little contrived. I know Eggman obviously can't die for the brand, but I wondered why even set the story up for this encounter to happen. Not trying to pit you against your coworker Evan, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that was Evan's scripting and her decision, so I'm not going to speak for her. If you want to understand the thinking behind it, ask the person who wrote it.
Okay. So okay, I guess you didn't write that issue?
Nope.
Well then, there we go. Putting bias aside as best you can, and without spoiling anything for the listeners, where would you say you feel Frontiers ranks among Sonic's best game stories? The Adventure Duo, Battle, Black Knight, etc. Would you consider it definitively better or worse than either of them?
I don't think I can answer this one.
Nope.
This is a PR powder keg, and I don't know if I can put my personal biases aside.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to abstain from this one. If this were a few years down the road, maybe it would be a little safer to talk about it. But right now, with the game fresh out and many eyes upon the show right now, I think it's better just to say I enjoy all Sonic material equally. I love them like my children. And just kind of slink out the door before anyone can raise another question.
You just heard...
Kyle, however, you're free to say whatever you want.
Well, you just heard it here first. Ian's favorite Sonic game is Sonic Jam for the Gamecom. I'm not done with Frontiers yet, so I will abstain myself currently.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm still not done. So, I mean, I don't care about spoilers personally. At this point, I'm going to be spoiled of Sonic spoilers no matter what, so it doesn't matter. But, yeah. So far, it's good. I like it. I'm enjoying it, but haven't finished it yet.
I would also... Here I am walking back up to the line when I already said I shouldn't. I don't know if it's a super fair comparison because Frontiers is built off of all the narratives that came before.
Right.
To a degree. So its strengths are built on the foundations of the other game's strengths in a lot of degrees. So can you really say one is better than the other when it can't exist without the others?
Yeah.
I don't know. That is up. I leave that up for others to debate.
It's really interesting how much Frontiers brings up previous events that games have not referenced in over a decade. It's like, oh yeah, that was the thing, huh? Here's a next question from Vladsy. Why exactly do you think we need the Freedom Fighters back today? What do you think they really provide to modern Sonic beyond fan service? I personally find it hard to see characters like Rotor and Nicole be relevant when we have Tails and Sage. Sally has a unique niche as a designated leader character, but I'd argue Sonic himself as a character doesn't need a leader. He goes his own way, so others wrangling him is counterintuitive to that. You can't tame the wind, after all. The only one I could really see staying fresh in today's brand is Bunny. Oh, here's the thing, Vlad. Here, I got this for you. Here's a question for you. Why exactly do you think we need Sonic the Hedgehog today? I mean, come on.
I need gainful employment, Kyle. Don't question this.
I mean... Really? Come on. Like,
I mean, do we need the Freedom Fighters? Arguably, no.
No.
Do I want them back? Yeah. Will I, be kept up at night forever if we don't manage to bring them back? No, life goes on. I think it would be a nice thing to have, whatever form they take, depending on where they're brought back and how they're brought back will define what niches they fill and what roles they fill. I think you can find a purpose for each of them. Rotor is arguably the most difficult of them because in his most base original design, he was Sonic's best friend and inventor and kind of chill and soft-spoken and had a love for fish. And that's all covered by Tails and Big at this point. So, Rotor would need maybe a little more thought than everybody else. I would say Nicole and Sage are completely different characters.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck you're even talking about there.
And I've got fun ideas for, Antoine specifically. But again, this all comes down to when, where, and how they come back. And that will help define, if that comes to be, it will help define, what roles they play and how they play out. At this point, it's a desire. It's not a necessity. We have a robust modern cast, to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Classic is starting to congeal into something that is more cohesive with its own cast as too. So are they needed? Arguably no. Do I still feel like they have value to the franchise? Yes. So I'm going to do what I can where I can to see if maybe they can be brought back. And if it doesn't work out, then so it goes.
The thing about the freedom fighters is bringing them back now at least would be a sign of like goodwill, reaching out to the fans and actually, listening to them and understanding like, hey, we see you. So I think that would be a good thing. It would be a net positive for the company, and it would make some people happy, make a lot of people happy. So, I mean, why not? Why do we need the freedom fighters? Because why not?
I mean, I see there's that, but there's also, it's a double-edged sword because
Right.
when they come back, they will not be
the same. No.
The same. And that may be a bridge too far for those who do want to see them back. So I don't know.
Yeah. So,
that's one of the things that have to be weighed and considered.
Yeah. So the response in the chat is, so it would just be fan service. I mean, that's kind of what Sonic as a franchise runs on, honestly. Like, if you think about it, Sonic is
That's what a large portion of Frontiers was. If we're gonna be
Sonic is a fan service driven franchise. It's so bringing them back is not really out of character for the franchise. And like, yeah, doing things that fans like is not necessarily a bad thing. Just, I mean, if you can come up with a good way to do it, that's the kicker. It's not just a matter of, why do we need them to come back? I don't know. Let's have them come back. Let's figure out a way to get them back in there, Figure it out. Just, you gotta come up with something. There you go. And our last question. Some say Sonic actually getting with Amy wouldn't pose a risk to his lifestyle because he can still adventure with her. But have you ever considered his psyche in regards to the label of girlfriend or dating? Is the mere idea of being in a commitment too restricting on his freedom-oriented mindset? If so, putting aside how static things are supposed to be officially, would you see it as something to chip away at and develop, or something to maintain and ride around?
I feel like if it is to be an element of his personal psyche, it has to be defined. And we have not gotten a lot of definition in that regard with him. Most of his reactions have been not so positive portrayals, and we don't really get any greater thinking to it outside of the tropes that they're built on. So I feel like at this point where they are as individuals and in the franchise, that ship's almost sailed. I feel like going back and trying to revisit that and retroactively define it would just bring more attention to where it doesn't need to be. They have moved on to a point where they are mutually trusting and appreciative friends. The tension is mostly dissolved, and going back to the not so great portrayal of the relationship before to try to explain it away, I don't know if it's something we really need to do. We have them in a pretty good place now. That I think should serve as the new foundation to build off of. And this is coming from somebody who loves to dredge up all the old stuff and try to make all the pieces fit. I've made that bed. I will lie in it. I will wear that hat, whatever analogy you want to make. I know that's what I like to do, but something I have learned over the years is that sometimes it's not really worth the effort to go back and explain away something that just, it doesn't need to be addressed. We've moved on to something that works and is good. Let's focus on that positive and build upon it.
Yeah.
So to get to, I guess, the crux of your question, that in this scenario, if we were allowed to explore Sonic and Amy on a romantic level at this juncture, I would like to see it in terms of how they are now interacting in this more positive and wholesome way, and how that defines their individual goals. Because again, we're getting into a little bit of Frontier spoiler territory, but Amy isn't necessarily hinged on Sonic's every move anymore. She's looking for her own self-definition, and that me time may not be too conducive to really exploring a them time.
Mm-hmm. Well, who knows where things could go in the future, though? Who knows?
I hope that was an actual answer, not just rambling nonsense.
I guess. I know. I understand where you're kind of tiptoeing around things, though, because, shipping is a very controversial topic. So I know we don't necessarily want to wade too deeply into that, but,
That, and now that, it's public knowledge that I'm part of the lore initiative, I don't want to speak too definitively
right
on anything, because I don't want to give the false impression of, oh, yes, this is what I'm doing, or this is what the company is doing, because it's still, number one, not public information. It's all internal documents. And two, I don't want to misrepresent anyone. We're thinking in the long term. There's a lot of, we are cooking many things, but yeah, I can't comment too directly on any of it, and I don't want to mislead.
You may be cooking many things, but do you know what you're cooking?
For the most part.
Well, I mean, I guess that's about as good as you can hope for.
There's a lot of moving pieces that I didn't even realize until I got into this. So.
I was going to say, the plates are probably spinning like crazy, and you're having to run between all of them real fast. Just like Sonic.
There was that plate. Oh, my God.
What's that plate doing over there? Ah!
Not Nana's fine china. Put it away.
So many plates. Just let them all fall, Ian. Just let them all fall. Release us from our Sonic prison.
Thank you to Vlad C for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. If you want one of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a corresponding tier member on YouTube.
We'll see you guys next time.